Welcome to the Nerd Party.
Want to be a part of the Nerd Party community? Don't forget to like our Facebook page at www.facebook.com/thenerdparty and follow us on Twitter at @JoinNerdParty. You can also help us by leaving a rating and comment in Apple Podcasts to help spread Time and Space to other listeners. If you want to contact us, visit thenerdparty.com/contact, click on our show logo, and leave a comment for us there. Welcome to Time and Space, a Doctor Who podcast. I'm Jessica Nunn.
And I'm her husband and co-host, Phillip Gilfus. Another week of new Doctor Who.
Yes, indeed.
And we only have a few more episodes left. We're over halfway done.
Yes, yeah, which kind of freaked me out a little bit, I'll be honest.
Yeah, so we're going to be talking about Praxeus, the 6th episode of Series 12. There's only 4 episodes remaining, and the last 2 are a Part 2 season finale.
Yep.
Extravaganza.
Extravaganza, indeed.
Well, this one went some places, so we'll take it bit by bit.
It went places.
This is the first episode I can think of, at least for 13th Doctor, but maybe for New Who, not forever, but recently that we've sort of had near future. Like, I guess this is almost supposing, like, this takes place 10 years from now. Because, like, in the 30s.
Yeah.
When there's a British space agency, or whatever they called it.
Yep, I don't know.
EU was holding them back. But anyway, but
Yep, that was it.
We start off with Adam Lang, the astronaut who crashes and is missing, and worldwide, or at least, I guess, UK-wide, missing. We are introduced to Jake Willis, former cop, and who we eventually learn is his estranged husband, and we kind of go from there. So just encapsulating their storyline of Adam and Jake. What did you think of all that?
I didn't mind it as a story. I quite liked it as a story, if I'm honest. But, and I'm sure we're going to get much further into this, there wasn't enough of it. There was so much happening in this story. So much happening.
And yet, not happening.
And yet, not happening, yes.
Well, like, for instance, I feel like Jake Willis has potential as a character. I mean, I don't think one episode does him. I think
not anywhere close. We haven't figured out why he's a former cop.
Right.
Really. But we don't really get a good, this is why our relationship went completely off the rails. We don't really get this is where we're reconciling our relationship. There are so many questions.
Well, let's go through some of the questions. So,
okay.
Because, it doesn't really explain. Well, also, okay, so because Adam texts Jake, presumably texts him?
Presumably, because there was a sort of a
Help
new
me.
phone who dis kind of moment. Yeah.
But, like, I don't know how he was able to. Do astronauts usually keep their phone with them?
I don't know, but it couldn't have been his phone, because it wasn't he didn't have the number. He didn't know who it was.
Right. So he was texting from the alien sick bay.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's all very sketchy. But okay, so putting that aside for a second. So they're estranged. So Jake didn't go to the launch.
Yes.
Here's a question.
Yep.
How would Adam know? Wasn't he in the ship?
Yeah.
Reasonable
question. You could totally be like, I was there.
Yeah, I know. Don't they keep the spouses in a separate thing? We'll go later. Because presumably the astronauts have to be there quite early. And
Yep.
We'll drive separately.
Yeah. I'll meet you there.
Right. I'm sure maybe they get a car.
Yeah. I don't know.
To pick them up.
Yeah. I got nothing
Uber.
for you. I got more questions.
Okay.
We don't know the answer to this one. Move on.
Well, also, we get and I'm hand quoting, explanation that Jake just isn't emotional. He's just he just doesn't show his feelings, and that's a problem, I guess.
And there's a big difference between I'm not showing my feelings and I'm not showing up to watch you blast into outer space.
Because and then it's sort of, is there a resentment that, oh, I'm dating it, or I'm married to an astronaut? Well, you can imagine how that is. And you'll have to explain it to me.
You're going to have to walk me through it, because
they seem to paint the picture that because Adam's an astronaut, he's awesome, and so Jake's like, I'm not awesome.
Yeah.
And so I'm not saying that's not valid, but it's sort of like, okay, well, let's explore that.
Nope. There will be no exploration in this episode.
And as you say, then it gets into, how does the former cop thing come into it? How did you understand their relationship as the episode went by? Because there was about maybe a tenth of this episode that I literally couldn't hear. I don't know if it's just accents or just wasn't, whatever. But
age,
possibly.
I assume.
No, they seem pretty young. I almost wondered if they were divorced at first.
Yeah.
Because it's sort of like husband, and I was like, ex-husband or something.
Yeah.
They're not, but and then I didn't really get on. And then we have, I'm trying to remember, what's the reconciliation? It's sort of like, the Adam's dying, and then...
So we should really get back together.
Right.
Because insurance. I assume. I don't know.
I'm trying to actually remember the F's. I'm trying to remember, he's sort of there, and Adam volunteers to take the serum or whatever, and it looks like he's going to die, but of course it works, because we all knew it was going to probably. But anyway, yeah, I don't, and then it's like, oh, well, everything's good, we're back, we showed up, everything's solved. You know what? Jake still has this thing about wanting to be a hero, so he's going to stay behind while everyone goes forward and pilot the ship thing, so that it doesn't explode the world and puts out the anti-serum. But then, I don't know, he gets saved.
Yep.
Which
I thought he had to. There was no way they were not. There was no way they were going to kill the gay marriage guy. There was just no way.
So
not in the middle of Preachy McPreach.
Well, let's talk about Preachy. So in Orphan 55, they let the two people die. And
they let all the people die.
Yeah, they didn't go back
55.
for them.
No. But they weren't going to let the gay marriage people die. That's what I'm saying.
So the young
old
black girl?
Old people are fine. Young black girl, we don't know that they died, she and her mom.
Well, they certainly didn't go to find out.
Yeah,
That's 15 million.
No, that was, but I'm sure they're fine. Sure they're fine.
Just saying there may be a double standard.
The guy from Hollyoaks totally survives, and I'm glad about that.
But, yeah, I don't know, I'm almost thinking because there's no sacrifice, really. I don't know.
I'm sick of sacrifice, though.
Right.
I'm quite sick of sacrifice. Mm-hmm. When he went in there, I was like, no, not another one. You can't keep doing this. Mm-hmm. And they didn't, so it was fine.
All right. Well, another storyline was Two Girls Roaming, I believe was the name of the blog.
Yep, that works.
And so we have Ryan and the birds.
Yeah.
So speaking of people not surviving, again, another woman of color, I believe, gets killed there or disappeared with her partner, But so we have Gabriella, who's our other guest star. We've already named two. So Gabriella's also our guest star with Ryan. So they get to investigate. Mm-hmm. So that thing sort of took a little bit of a leap, where it's like, oh, what happened? I don't know. Where'd she go? There's birds. No, I got it. And then it's like, I Googled that there was a 911 call or something. It wasn't really 911, but, an emergency call.
But yeah, and
there's a hospital that's empty. And
people need to be really mad about this, because Jamila totally was like, I don't want to camp next to this trash dump.
Yeah.
And Gabriella clearly went, we're camping next to this trash dump. And look what happens.
I also like how she covered her eyes. Clearly should have known that there was the trash there.
Yeah.
Like
seen it on the way or something.
Smelled it, certainly.
Smelled it, yeah.
But anyway.
Yeah.
Though I think if you camp in the trash dump, your dead uncle will give you $1 million if you do it for the night.
Oh.
Right.
Okay.
Yes. I believe that is how... Or am I thinking of the Haunted Mansion?
I think that's only if you don't use your cell phone.
Oh, okay. All right.
I think you have to camp at the dump and not use your cell phone.
Okay, well, that makes sense.
And then you get $1 million.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's right.
Sure.
Yeah.
I'm a celebrity. Get me out of here. But, I mean, she was an interesting character, I guess. Not much to her. Gabriella, I'm talking about.
Yeah, it was fine.
Mm-hmm. Nice hair, but that's about...
Yeah.
I mean, there was that brief part where... and again, not that it didn't make sense, or maybe it didn't, but it just seemed sort of random where it's like... There's that part where they're saving Adam... Astronaut Adam. I don't know where you put that. And Yaz is just sort of pulling things, and like there's a console, and they're all, on the bad monsters like whoa, and she's like, oh, this must be valuable, and then they all have to scatter and scamper, and then she's like, wait a minute, that was valuable. I should go back.
And I'm gonna take Gabriella, and then we're 2 girls roaming again.
That's right.
And then, oh no, something bad happened. Oh God!
She's like, let's teleport.
Yep, off we go.
Yeah, it just seems sort of. Well,
and then all of a sudden we're under the sea.
But it just seemed like it's kind of random where Yaz decided to leave, and then I forget how it came up. But Gab was like, "I'll go," and she's like, "Oh, sure, why not?" I guess it just seemed like I don't know. We have 1 million characters, so let's just pair them off, I guess.
Yeah.
Then we have I'm probably gonna say this name wrong. We have Suki Cheng, in her magical lab.
Yep.
And I forget her assistant, but he got birded, so whatever.
Yeah.
So he died too.
Yep. Once again.
Mm-hmm. She was a bad guy.
Apparently. Ish.
Well, this is where you have your thing about bad guys. Because they seem pretty bad guy in that, if I understood it correctly, ... they have the Praxeus virus or whatever it is, and they decided to introduce it to Earth to experiment and find a cure.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And that was what was going on.
Yeah. Because plastic.
Right. We should recycle. And then we cut the 6-pack.
Yes. Because turtles.
Right.
Straws. Turtles.
That last straws. So, but what did you think of the bad guys? Because we had, her, and then we of course had the monster bad guys. They're all the same, though.
Yep.
And that was it.
Yeah, they were fine.
And then she dies.
Yeah.
Half the cast dies.
I know. That's the way this works.
Mm-hmm.
They were fine. Whatever. I'd lost interest by then.
Mm-hmm.
Which makes me sad.
Yeah.
I'm sad about all this.
Well, we did sort of have the globe-trotting in this one, Started off with, space, I suppose.
Yep.
And then we went...
The final frontier, I've heard.
Exactly. And then we went to... Where were they? Were they in Brazil? Am I thinking that correctly? Or the 2 girls?
Maybe.
And then we're in Madagascar.
Maybe.
See, I can't remember.
Yeah.
But anyway.
Hong Kong at one point, I believe. Isn't that where Graham finds...
The astronaut.
Finds Jake, anyway.
Yes.
Yeah.
One thing I thought was interesting in that I feel like there's almost a little bit of gap between this episode and the last for multiple reasons. One, would you like to guess why? Because I know something you were thinking about that we're not going to mention.
We're not going to talk about the other doctor and all of that. Crazy.
I mean, it's a little series, it's a half criticism. Very series 11. If we're just going to go back to episodic, because this is a episodic episode.
Yes.
Where I thought, whatever, you can do whatever you want, Chibnall, and you are, obviously, but I don't know, if you're going to have an arc, you
have a bloody arc.
And at least dip your toe in it.
Yes.
At least, if you're
make some sort of, there needed to be a crack in the wall somewhere.
Exactly.
That's what needed to happen. Yeah. And to completely not mention it, particularly because I was like, oh, okay, we're not going to mention it, but that's okay. We have plenty of time. We don't have plenty of time. We have 4 episodes. We don't have time to be wasting on the gay astronaut if you're not going to explore that further and you're not going to tell us anything about the other new doctor, whatever that is. No, stop it. It's too much. There were too many people in this episode. It didn't mean anything, and it was Preacher McPreachy.
And it wasn't even that preachy. I mean, in other words, like, Orphan 55 was like, hey, kids, we had a lot of fun in this episode, but we'd like you to know that. Whereas this one was kind of like, what are they doing? Oh, it's the plastic.
Plastic.
Earth has so much
We're
plastic.
Covered in plastic.
In the ocean.
Plastic.
And
if you don't sort that crap out, aliens are going to show up.
Right. We all have plastic inside of us. But also, one thing that I thought was and this is something I'm reading into it, so that's what I do sometimes to improve things, is that where I feel like there's been time, because in the past few episodes, like Spyfall, for instance, but other ones, where the companions here can go on their individual missions, but they're kind of rusty, they're amateurs, they're not... Whereas as far as this episode, I feel like they were all Johnny on the spot about it. Like, Ryan, you got the birds, and he's investigating birds, and he's on the birds thing, and Graham and Yaz were in Hong Kong. They're in charge of investigating buildings. They're on it. They're all got the little, transmitters to the doctor who's over in a whole another place, and they can just communicate across the globe, and they're sort of the Mission Impossible team.
But here's the thing that bothers me, is that... we're not getting any companion stories.
Right.
Story arcs.
Mm-hmm.
They have introduced this season the idea that the companions have questions.
Right.
The companions aren't getting answers to their questions. But then there's no follow-through. Like, I would be able to buy that they're sending everybody in different directions if I didn't feel like there was some mistrust going on at the minute anyway. It just, I just didn't buy it. Just didn't buy it.
Because, especially going to Spyfall, where you had Yaz have this, emotional experience of getting stranded, as apparently that's her thing now, getting stranded. Get stranded here, get stranded.
Yeah.
And
yeah,
Tesla
it's her thing.
Gets stranded,
Yeah, it's her thing.
That's her thing.
It's fine.
Doesn't get killed like a certain, Amy's spouse, but she just gets stranded. So anyway, but that seemed very emotional for her, was crying and thought she died, but we sort of never followed up with that. Because, if you wanted to create some characterization, goodness forbid, being law enforcement, and I don't know what it's like in the UK, but presumably similar, you can often have some life events, and so you can reflect that if she sort of had this very scary experience, how does that reflect on her life, not only with the doctor, but in her real life, as still a probationary PC, whatever you call them. And so, I don't know, just something to think about, because she's still a young lady, but I don't know.
Yeah. Also, she and Jake never have any chats. You'd think they have things in common.
Right. Yeah, there's something, because there's some part where he's like, oh, da-da-da, and she's like, that's why I don't go announcing it or something. And I don't know. Yeah.
They're just gaping wide holes. I feel like Chris Chibnall is trying to write a 2-hour show, or maybe this is what happened. Maybe Chris Chibnall shows up in the writer's room or whatever they have, and he's like, right, I have this script for the next episode. Thunk.
Yeah.
And they go through it, and they're like, Chris, this is 2 hours long.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to have to take some things out. And Chris says, I can't take things out. I'm an author. You can't make me do it. And so they just start tearing random pages of this 2-hour script out. And they tear out half of the random pages and then just shoot what's left.
Because this episode isn't great, this is sort of the turning point that we've sort of been talking about forever and ever and ever and ever and ever, as in the series. As in both series, but I don't think 11 was as bad, or at least as noticeable, whereas this one is just guest star, extra characters.
Too much.
I mean, you could call these characters in half and still have...
Oh, easily. Easily. They could have done just the astronauts. Mm-hmm. And that would have been important enough. There are, loads of... It just, no, wasn't happy. Birds, what the hell?
Yeah, and at least would tie in with last series, where at least you'd have, like, Ryan... And I'm sorry, I just can't remember the character's name, I'm sorry. But, like, Ryan would talk to the blind girl, and it would relate, because he has his daddy issues and mommy issues, and she has her daddy issues, and... whereas this one, none of the character, or when he had the pregnant guy, last series, and Ryan's about being a father or whatever. And I'm not saying you have to stick to these same motifs that they did with Ryan and Graham, but they haven't introduced any new motifs.
Yep.
And so, but even then, you don't have the companions then relating to the guest characters in any meaningful fashion. So it's like with any of these characters, who could relate to the astronauts? I mean, Graham maybe, or maybe there was a little because Graham sort of had this sort of moment with Jake, didn't he? I remember where sort of kind of like father son, or kind of a little bit of where he's kind of like, where we don't know how progressive Graham is, but he seems nice enough about how he's counseling a husband about relations with his husband, but Graham doesn't come out and say it about well, this is my wife, and she's losing her, and don't lose it while you have it, and don't appreciate what you got. And I actually forget what he said, but I mean, it was sort of like at this level. I know you can't see this, unlike on the top level, but it go like a little bit deeper, where you could have maybe made that tie a little bit more.
Well, and again, as you were talking about Yaz's near-death experience and that sort of trauma, and this would have been a great opportunity to figure out why Jake is an ex-cop, and maybe there's trauma, and maybe that's something they can talk about. But there's no opportunity. There's no time. There's just no time for any of it.
And then, Gabriella.
Not interested.
Yeah, not interested. I mean, I don't know. I mean, I could see, theoretically, I'm trying to think of if a companion has to leave, because we talked about this, and we don't want them to die. We don't want anyone to die. Please don't kill any of them. But, a natural leaving. And so, maybe Yaz goes out on her own with Gabriella and Two Girls Roam or something, whatever, which I don't think I think that's maybe Ryan would be the more adventurous type. I mean, because I think Yaz has a practical side. I think she's adventurous, but she also has a practical side to her as well. So, but I don't know. And then with the bad guys, you sort of had the doctor vibing with Sookie about science and labs and all that. But then there wasn't really... I mean, you could still make her the villain and really bad and whatever, and she dies and it's all fine. But, fake us with a little bit more, a connection.
Yeah.
Something that's
so that we're sad it's the bad guy.
And then, she was, that dastardly dastard.
Mm-hmm. But there wasn't time.
Right.
There wasn't time.
So, yeah. But although I really want to know more about the talking cat that the doctor was suspecting for most of this. Because she said there's that, and there's a talking cat. So way too much time on the cat. It was, so.
I really do love this doctor. I think Jodie's a lot of fun. And, I don't know, there's just not enough time.
Because I think, and maybe, I don't know if this is good or bad, because I always know that, of course, and I've said this before, that the episode runs long here in America, on BBC America. So it's not an hour-to-hour show where we start on the hour and end on the hour. It starts on the hour-ish, commercials, but ends at 10 after or 5 past or whatever. But so I keep watching these episodes and being like, you can't wrap this up. And I'm looking up and it's a quarter till, and I'm like, okay, I mean, you got extra time, but still, I don't know how you're going to wrap this thing up. And I don't know, they often don't, or at least they.
Yeah, there it is. The end.
Yeah. Yeah, I just, I'm hoping that we lessen the guest stars, but I don't know how much character is it, because I assume the 2-part finale is going to be pretty fast and furious in a good way, but
hopefully in a good way.
But I don't think you can, unless you're going to cliffhang.
Don't do that.
Yeah, about some of these companions, they leave, or they're in a danger, or something that.
Yeah, I don't know. This one was disappointing. I'm sad about it.
I am too. Because again, I think this is such an uneven season, and I hate that. Mm-hmm. So it's you have Spy, which is 2 episodes, so it counts as 2 episodes.
Yep.
Then you had the Jadoon.
Yep.
On the other hand, you had Orphan. Tesla was middling.
Yeah.
But I'm going to put it as bad. Yeah. And this one, Praxeus. And so, 3 on one side, 3 on the other. So, I mean, Tesla wasn't, of those 3 that
3 and 1 and 2, if you're being generous. Yeah.
But, I don't know. Because I don't know, I can't think off the top of my head. I mean, can you think? And I'm not saying you shouldn't do quote unquote message episodes, because there's certainly moral plays. That's not what you call them.
Morality plays.
Thank you. Morality plays. Which is Trek, or at least next year, old Trek is famous for. Doctor Who does it. It's not that they don't do it.
I think again, this one just felt preachy McPreacherson. Soften it up a little, make us enjoy it while you're preaching at us. Yeah. Otherwise, I'm just going to walk away going preaching McPreacherson.
But also, you have to offer, or I feel like you have to offer some sort of way out, or what's the solution?
Yeah,
it's like,
also that.
We use a lot of plastic. Sure do. I mean, okay.
Dun, dun, dun.
So what are we saying?
The end.
Yeah. Is it corporations or recycling, or is there an alternative way, or, everyone use a cloth bag? I don't know. What do you know? Yeah. What's the... Well, that's about it. It's been a busy one for us there, so we're going to leave it there. Next week, we're hoping for a better episode in Can You Hear Me? So, not to leave on a down note, but let us know your thoughts. Maybe you saw something we didn't. We're always happy to hear contrary opinions.
Absolutely.
But I guess we could do a brief non-Who TV. What TV shows would you like to catch up on once you have a life again?
Sex Education.
Okay. Netflix?
Season 2. Yeah. Marvelous Mrs. Maisel.
Was that season
3, I believe.
Okay.
On Prime. I need you to watch Dairy Girls.
Okay.
And so I'm prepared to watch it again with you. But I also want you to watch Season 1 of Sex Education so that you can watch Season 2 with me.
Okay.
Yeah, those are my big ones at the minute. How about you?
Well, I don't watch... Well, I mean, those are all streaming, too. So I was going to say, I don't watch you. Yes, those are all streaming. I watch streaming. Can't think of anything that's coming up that I've watched.
We're doing a Picard watch, obviously, as it comes.
So that's as it happens. So.
Yeah.
And,
which I'm enjoying.
Yeah. I've been rewatching the original series of Star Trek, too. And let's see. Survivor 40 is coming out.
Oh, yes. Yep. And we're catching up on The Masked Singer, our reality show fix.
I don't know. I haven't heard talk about the Circle US Season 2, but one hopes. We
need to find the others.
We need to find the UK.
Yeah.
I just watched The Witcher, which was interesting.
Did you watch the whole thing?
I watched the whole thing. Yeah, it was very bingeable.
Okay.
Again, you say you like fantasy. I've never seen you actually watch a fantasy show, so I think you're lying, probably.
Fair enough.
But if you do, that is a fantasy show.
I watched all the Avengers.
That's not fantasy.
Sure, it is.
This is literally
certainly not real.
Swords and dragons and magic.
Yeah, sometimes I do that. I watched the first several seasons of Game of Thrones before I lost the will to live with it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Speaking of death tolls.
No, having not watched Game of Thrones, but I live in the culture. To me, which I think it's good. It's not the greatest thing in the world, but for what I see, it's very good. Again, it was very bingeable. I was like, I wanted to watch that thing in one sitting, but that would have meant going past 1 a.m. So I did 2 sittings instead. But it was very good. The only my nitpicks are the main woman, who's a mage, is quite naked a lot of the times unnecessarily. And it's whatever. You can have a love scene, but just it seems like she's walking around with no shirt for particularly no reason. Poor girl's got to be cold, is what I'm saying.
Oh, yeah.
And then, spoiler, but not a spoiler. As a mage, she doesn't really use that much magic because it's sort of she's a really important. She's not using any. She's using a sword right now. That's not magical. And
how do you know? Maybe the sword is magical.
That's true. It's not like a singing sword or something.
Didn't come out of a lake.
Exactly. But other than that, it was interesting. But anyway, I do love those storytelling for those who have seen it. You have these 3 storylines, and then what you learn by the 4th or 5th episode about those 3 storylines, I think is pretty cool and awesome as a way to tell a story. Which I think is interesting as we're talking about too many guest characters, because you have the first episode is 2 storylines. You have The Witcher and you have younger
Princess girl?
Yeah, Princess Girl is name, I don't know. And then the third episode, you get the mage introduced. Well, yes, you don't know she's quite magical yet. And then you sort of go along the whole series with these 3 storylines, and you're like, oh, and, slightly overlapping. But anyway, it's very interesting. So, yeah, I definitely recommend it. I think there are a lot of things on my queue that I haven't that are past. So, like, the last season of The Good Place we need to watch.
Oh, yeah. Yep.
I want to watch Lost in Space Season 2.
Okay.
Because I did enjoy Lost in Space. It was quite good. And although I kind of vaguely remember how it ended. I almost want to watch it again, but it actually is a pretty long season to watch again. I'm trying to think of just stuff that's just staring there that's been out there. Because, like, The Witcher's been out there for a couple months. I'm just finally like, I'll take a stab at it.
Yeah.
That was pretty good.
Yeah, and I suspect that there are other things that I will catch up on when I have a life. But that's at least 2 months away. Yeah. So I got nothing.
All right. Well, until next week, enjoy your own television shows you need to catch up in. And enjoy the Doctor's many adventures throughout time and space.
This is BBC Television.